Hello, this video is going to demonstrate how to install Fusion palettes. We're going to be using the headless installer in order to install palettes. The Fusion application server has already been installed for us. There are a number of articles on the CafeX support portal that cover host preparation and installing FAS, etc. The download server contains the installers for both FAS and palettes. So what we're going to do is we're going to unpack the installer, we're going to edit the headless properties file, we're going to run the palettes installer, and then we're going to install a sample IVR Bypass application and demonstrate the palettes functionality using that application. So here we are at the command prompt. We're in our installers folder. If I list all the files in this folder, we can see that there's a palettes installer zip file that we've already downloaded. I can unzip that now. Unzip palettes -d palettes and put it into its own folder. If we navigate into that folder, we can see that there's a palettes folder in there. And then navigating into the palettes folder itself, we can see that there are a number of folders, one for the SDK, a samples folder, and a server folder. So if we go into the servers folder, we can see that this contains the installer properties file that we're going to use for the headless installer, and the jar file, which is the palettes installer itself. So we're going to go ahead now and edit the installer properties file. This file contains a number of properties that we need to fill in. We can start by accepting the EULA. We need to provide the directory that FAS has been installed into, and we know that that is /opt/cafex/fas-2.1.15. We now need to specify the packs that we're going to be installing. By default, every pack available is listed. For our basic installation, we're going to only install the extension module and configuration packs, the server and the administration packs. We are not interested in any of the adapters at the moment, so therefore we're going to remove those 4 adapter packs that are listed. Okay, so the next step is to specify the address of the FAS. And finally, the credentials to which we need to log in with. So I've changed these from the default values, so I can just update that here. Now we can save the installer properties file and run the installer. Java -jar palettes installer.jar -options and our properties file name. That will go ahead and install all the packs that we've asked it to install, and once it's complete it'll report a successful installation. There we have it. Palettes has now been installed. Now we can go ahead and install the basic IVR Bypass sample application. Unfortunately, there is no installer for that sample, so we'll have to install it manually. To start with, let's navigate to the folder in which the sample exists. So if we go back up a folder, you can see there's a folder called samples. If we go into there, so the sample IVR Bypass application is made up of 2 components. There's a back-end call center component, which we've mocked out using a dummy call center application. This would typically be your enterprise's contact center environment, such as a Genesis or a UCCE, etc. In our case, we have a mock version of that called dummy call center. We also then have a client-side piece we're going to be deploying the JavaScript client. So let's start by installing our backend pieces. Let's go into our dummy call center folder and list the files in there. Here we can see 3 files. The first is the customers XML. This contains all of the customers relating to our backend call center, in our case, our dummy call center. The next is the adapter, and then the call center application itself. The adapter is the way that Pallets talks to a backend call center. So let's start by installing our customers XML. This is simply done by copying the customers XML into the folder that we installed FAS. The next step is to deploy both the call center and the adapter WAR files. This is done through the JBoss admin UI. Let's go to that now and enter our URL for our admin UI. We need to enter our credentials. Once we're logged in, we can look at our deployments page. We can see that Pallets admin component and the server component have already been deployed through our installer, and now we need to add our dummy call center application. We can do that by clicking Add and choose File. I've already copied over the call center adapter and the call center applications onto my local machine because my browser will be looking for them on my local machine. The order in which you deploy them doesn't matter. So we'll deploy that, and then you need to assign it to a server group, and we'll go ahead and assign the dummy call center adapter to the main server group. We then click Add and now choose the call center application. The dummy call center application needs to be deployed to the management server group. Once we've assigned it to that, we can now go ahead and deploy the client-side pieces. Similarly, we click Add, and we just need to go up a folder to the samples folder, and in here there's a IVR Bypass folder. So from here we can select our IVR Bypass sample client WAR file and deploy that. And again, we need to assign that to the main server group. And finally, we need to select the configuration component relating to the dummy call center adapter. That's this WAR file here. This tells Pallets what services to offer the client. Now that we've deployed both the server-side and client-side components, we're ready to test out the IVR Bypass sample. In order to do that, we simply need to navigate to the URL for this basic IVR Bypass sample client. You can see that Pallets offers up 2 services, a data retrieval service and a set call context service. Clicking on the data retrieval service loads up a UI that allows you to enter key value pairs and submit those to the Pallet server. In doing so, the dummy call center adapter will be invoked. It will then process those key value pairs and send the data onto the dummy call center. The dummy call center in turn will return some value relating to the estimated wait time. These key value pairs are arbitrary, so you could enter anything you wanted. For example, the Annie of a customer's, pressing submit, send that to Pallets and pulls back the estimated wait time. The value that's returned is actually pullback from the customers.xml that we looked at earlier. So navigating back now to the home page, the other operation that Pallets offers is a set call context. This allows you to define a key against which all the customer's contextual data will be stored. So for example, the key may be the customer's ANI, and the actual data that is stored against them could be something like the session time that they've been on a particular site, 12 minutes. It may be a list of breadcrumbs. A to B to C, for example. Submitting this data to pallets again sends it to the dummy call center adapter, which in turn passes it on to the backend dummy call center application. We can, if needed, navigate to the call center's admin page to actually see this data that we've posted through pallets. So here it is. Here's the admin page for the dummy call center showing you the data that we passed. And that's it. It's that simple. Thank you for watching. For more how-to guides, please check out our support center at support.cafex.com.